back with Barrett Sallee of CBS Sports, who now joins us. Now, Barrett, I really appreciate you making some time for us this morning. I know there's been questions asked about tampering in college football, including of Nick Saban. Do you think that's a widespread thing, or is that just a small problem that we see pop up on the radar?
Oh, there's no doubt it's widespread. It was widespread before all of this. It's been part of the game for a long, long time, as long as people could transfer. And the thing with tampering is it's very vague. I mean, I think when you hear the word tampering, I think for a lot of folks, instantly it's a coach, head coach, assistant coach, basically reaching out. That's not really how it goes. And it's not how it goes right now. I mean, just like every other gray area that these coaches live in, there's got to be some plausible deniability built in. So whether it's current players on other teams that, went through the camp cycle with these transfers, or now in the age of NIL, representatives, agents, whatever, it's just a different tenor to it. It's a different method to it. And, it 100% happens. It's not like, Jermaine Burton woke up 2 days after winning the national championship and thought, you know what, maybe it's fun to go play at Alabama. Like, that doesn't happen. So, tampering's always happened. But like everything else, there's got to be some plausible deniability mixed in. And now it just takes on a different form with agents and representatives doing more talking maybe than they have in the past.
Barrett, we've seen some legends in college basketball exit the sport the last couple of years. Roy Williams, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, now Jay Wright. And there have been reports out there that one of the reasons they're leaving the sport is because of NIL and the transfer portal. Do you think we saw it with Matt Luke per se. I don't know that it's being reported. Do you think we kind of see that in college football in the coming years with some legends in the sport?
Yeah, no doubt. Seth Emerson's piece in The Athletic, I thought the first paragraph was the most important thing that we've heard regarding this topic really ever. And that's when Matt Luke was hosting a party at his house after he had retired, and he lost his phone for 5 hours and didn't care. How many college head coaches would feel the same way? Zero. Not a single one. They would be in full-on panic mode. And now more than ever, because you have to re-recruit your own roster every single year, every single day of the year. In addition to all the other stuff that they've had to deal with for a long time, and it takes a special kind of personality to be a college coach, assistant head coach, whatever. It took that anyway. Now it's just even more exaggerated. So. Yeah, I think you're going to see, at least from the older, guard, the people that are my age, 41, and older, maybe even a little bit younger, you're going to see them just throw their hands up and say, all right, look, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to go take a comparable job at the NFL level or go do something else, go be a consultant, do whatever. I think the younger generation of coaches, the ones that are recently done playing, whether it be the NFL or college, or the ones that are, in college playing right now, might be a little bit more prone to actually deal with all of this stuff because they went through it as players. And I think it's hard to grasp the mindset of, college age students. For me, I'm 41. I don't know what they're doing half the time. But if you've actually experienced the process that exists right now, I think you're going to be more apt to stick around in college. So I think you're going to see middle age to older coaches, whether it's head coaches or assistant coaches, sort of, age themselves out to an extent if they don't think that they can handle it and would like to actually see their family every once in a while. Younger age coaches, I think, will have more opportunities as a result.
We're talking with Barrett Sallee, CBS Sports this morning. Barrett, to kind of dive away from the NIL and college conversation, just get more into some SEC stuff. I've seen and I listened to a little bit of your interview on Paul Feinbaum. You're very high on Ole Miss this year, which I was kind of curious about that. I've seen some in that category and others questioning the quarterback situation and the loss of offensive and defensive coordinator Levy and Durkin. Why are you high on Lane Kiffin's team in year 3? Or I guess year 4, yeah.
Well, I think when you look at the biggest threat to Alabama, really nobody's a threat to Alabama in the West. But if you have to pick one, I think it is Ole Miss, because when you're talking about college football teams that are dangerous, you're talking about teams that can dictate style and tempo of games. And Ole Miss does that. Like they can do that. They can do that to Alabama. They have done that to Alabama, even in losses. So I think, the offensive coordinator issue with Jeff Levy, don't really care all that much because Lane Kiffin's there. I think they've upgraded at running back with Ulysses from SMU, and then also Zach Wilson from TCU. I think the quarterback situation is very healthy with Luke Altmaier understanding what Lane asks and being able to execute it, but Jackson Dart being potentially able to execute it at a higher level, but still, sort of learning what's expected of him. And then defensively, and we saw Trigg in the spring game. He's one of those Eric Gilbert type, hybrid tight end wide receivers, just, a mismatch. And then defensively, I like DJ Durkin. He did a pretty good job there. But you go back and look at some of their games. I mean, it wasn't like it was a big difference between last year and the Ole Miss defenses of the past. So, I think some more maturity, the more recruiting that Lane has done filtering into the upper class, sort of areas will help them be adequate. And if they're adequate and they have a dynamic offense, then I think the biggest threat to Alabama in the West. I don't buy Texas A&M. I think they have some issues along the offensive line, and I don't think their quarterback situation is as healthy as maybe other people do. So, I think Ole Miss is going to be dangerous. They went to the Sugar Bowl last year. A lot of those guys, still are back, the younger folks anyway, and then I think they did a good job in the transfer portal finding, sort of stopgaps to fill in those holes.
Barrett, I know that there's a lot of fans listening right now that think Arkansas has a great opportunity this season to follow up a 9-win year with another year that could be excellent. I don't know if that's 10 wins. I don't know if that's 9 wins. I don't know if that's 8 wins. What is your feel of this program from a national perspective and what you think they can be in 2022?
Yeah, I know Arkansas fans don't like Houston Nutt all that well, but to me, it feels like right now Arkansas is sort of where Houston had them, which is 8 wins, 9 wins as sort of the general feeling of the program. The expectations always there. Anything worse than that's a disappointment, but the possibility of popping up and winning 10 or 11 is there. I think for this specific team, that possibility certainly exists. You got a great quarterback, a mismatch at quarterback. They've done a pretty good job from a transfer portal perspective. I think Jaden Hazelwood, granted I'm a little bit jaded because I did see him quite a bit as a high school player, but that kid can play. And then the linebacker issue. I think that they will be fine, and we've heard Barry Odom just gush over the new linebackers that they've got to replace Grant Morgan in that crew, and obviously having bump pull back is huge too. So I think they'll be fine. I think what Sam Pittman has done is basically sort of moved the floor up a little bit. And in year 3, considering where Arkansas was, after the Chad Morris deal. Moving that floor up to where it is right now, where 7-8 wins is kind of where you should be, is a massive improvement in a division where it's hard to make that kind of jump, even in a 3-year span.
Mm-hmm. Barrett, I'll bring in Clay in just a sec. Something that our other show was discussing with him yesterday is the pod idea. And I know that's a question that Greg Sankey will field probably 100 times in July down in your neck of the woods at SEC Media Days. Pods, divisions, what is the SEC going to do? We know the ACC potentially could be moving out of their format. So when Texas and Oklahoma join the league, presumably in 2025, and if Barrett Sallee was the head honcho, the commissioner, how would you format the Southeastern Conference moving forward from a scheduling standpoint?
Well, I hate the pod idea. No one has been able to tell me a reasonable explanation about how that would really operate within, the current 12-game schedule and an SEC championship team. There's not a reasonable solution through the pod system out there. I just think, now we saw the NCAA remove the legislation that mandated you had 12 teams or a round robin schedule to have a championship game. Just do away with divisions. I've been anti-division for a very long time. There's no reason to have them. I hate them in college athletics. I hate them in pro sports. They don't make any sense, especially geographic. geographic divisions. If you're the best team in a certain region, does it make you a good team? No, it doesn't. It just means you're the best potentially of some bad teams. So just do away with divisions. I would add a ninth conference game. I know they won't, but I would add a ninth conference game. Have two permanents or three permanents, and then roll everybody else through it. And I think that this topic's popped up this week, where it's sort of come to the forefront that teams don't play the entire conference, through a 4-year career of a player. That might not sound like a big deal to fans. Coaches hate that. They hate the fact that they don't get to play every team, that their players don't get to experience it. To a coach, like every single one of them. So I don't think necessarily we as outsiders recognize how important that is. And that's why I think it's important for a guy like David Cutcliffe, who's now sort of the liaison between the coaches and the commissioner and the administrators, really push something like that, because he's just a different voice that I know feels the same way. So I would eliminate divisions. I would add 9 non-conference games. I know that won't happen. And then just have 2 or 3 permanents and rotate the rest around. And if you lose some rivalries, fine. You still playing, every 2 or 3 years anyway now. So, what's the problem?
Barrett, this is Clay Henry. When you look at Arkansas and you see a solid offensive line, probably better than they had last year, which was decent, held their own against everybody except for Georgia, and a lot of teams struggled with that defensive line. They've got the running backs. They've got Rocket Sanders, A.J. Green. They've got Dominic Johnson, and they found another one in Rashad Dubinion. They've got 2 quarterbacks that can run it. The recipe in the SEC is to run the ball, and when you can run the ball, then you can throw it, because KJ does have the ability to throw. Why is this Arkansas team not seen a little, in better light when they have that kind of juggernaut of a running game with the possibility to throw that maybe a lot of teams in the SEC don't have? Maybe outside of Alabama, they're the only one that really can say that.
You're going to hate this answer, but reputation. They don't have the track record of success that, Ole Miss has by going to, New Year's Six game, by Texas A&M, having all the buzz and hype that I think is unnecessary, but it still exists. It's that. The visibility isn't there. They haven't done it at that level, really they had a good year under Sam Pittman, and you saw, obviously that Georgia game was a huge deal between top 10 teams. But then after that, Arkansas kind of just faded out of the national spotlight. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't belong there. I just think right now there hasn't been, a situation where they've been there for a prolonged period of time for people that don't pay attention to the SEC to recognize it. They know Texas A&M's beaten Alabama. They know Texas A&M in a COVID year, which I don't take a whole lot from. But they did go to the Orange Bowl. So, I think it's a bad answer. It's a lazy mindset, but I think it's accurate. Just Arkansas hasn't been able to win at the level yet to sustain, national prominence or keep the nation's attention long enough for them to sort of get comfortable with the players you said, the system you said, the fact that KJ is, very Cam Newton-ish in terms of what he, can do. Like, it just, the visibility is not there. And again, that's a bad answer. That's a lazy answer, but I think it's the accurate one.
But then that could be a good answer, because they could be laying in the weeds if they've got that kind of offensive firepower.
Correct. Yes. So, and really all it would take, we've seen this with A&M, beat Alabama, it changes. Right? Like, beat Alabama, it changes. Because suddenly now, after what A&M did to Alabama, they think everyone thinks outside of the SEC that Zach Calzada is a really good quarterback. He completed 54% of his passes. It's not like he's a superstar. So, that's what beating Alabama does. Beat Alabama, everything changes. Or, win 9-10 games and go to New Year's Six. Yeah, that'll change, because, you'd be in the national spotlight for a lot longer than you were last year.
Bear, that is the game that so many Arkansas fans have circled on their calendar. Arkansas, Alabama, first weekend of October, week 5, a potential top 25, top 15, top 10 matchup before how it shakes out. We'll have to see what happens when Bryce Young and KJ go at it again. Barrett Sallee, CBS Sports, kind enough to make some time for us this morning. Barrett, best of luck to your Falcons this year, and we'll see you in your neck of the woods at SEC Media Days coming up in July, buddy.
You know what's going to happen with the Falcons. Just go ahead and chalk it up. Like the Braves, the Braves won the World Series last year. The Falcons could lose every game from here on out. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the post Matty Ice era, what that looks like, and I know you're going to be more.
They will find a way to screw it up. They will find a way to screw it up. They always do.
Not comfortable. Well, Barrett, enjoy your weekend, buddy. Play some golf, okay?
I will try my best. Thanks.
All right, good stuff for Barrett Sallee, CBS.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.